Okay, it's almost ready. It's setting it up. All right, it should be live now.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. We will call the meeting for the Executive Director Search Committee to order at 7:04 p.m. Just jotting down the notes. And a roll call. Deborah? Nathan?
Here.
Awesome. And myself here. I see we are joined by Kathy, Larry,
Here.
and Rebecca.
Here.
Awesome.
Rob?
Yeah.
I got an invitation to this and I thought I was supposed to attend, but I certainly don't need to attend.
Yeah, no, yeah, I saw that and I don't know why that happened. So if you have to do something, you're free to go. But if you would like to stay, you can stay.
I have things to do, but I
Okay. That's okay.
Okay. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye, Kathy. Have a good evening.
I also thought that, I guess I didn't realize this was a committee meeting and not,
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it wasn't a full board meeting, but I thought it was kind of optional if we wanted to.
Yeah, no, you're welcome
And-
to stay. Any committee member, any board member can attend any committee meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I might be kind of in and out, but
Okay, that's fine.
okay.
Okay, so moving on with the agenda. Sorry, trying to move all my windows around. We did that. And now for public comment, I got an email from Susan that we have no public comments. Moving on to new business. We are going to review the received proposals from firms. So I will share my screen to do that. First, I just wanted to make it big enough, and we are able to. It's trying to just where it is. Proposals may not be kept confidential following the submission deadline and may be discussed in open meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Waukegan Public Library pursuant to state law. So I just wanted to say that before we get going. And here is the proposal we got from HR Source. Did everyone, Nathan and Deborah, you had a chance to look it over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
Mine
did.
highlighted. And
Awesome. Did you, I guess we'll get started. Did you have any questions or?
no questions. I was kind of surprised that we only got one.
Yeah, I followed up with the places, the firms that we sent the proposals to. A lot of them were currently in contract in helping other libraries in the area, or were busy with other searches. So yeah. I was surprised too. So I guess going over their qualifications, it seemed good to me that they have been able to help with 9 library executive director roles in the Chicago area in the past 2 years. And
I agree with that. That's one of the things I got highlighted is that, you know, They seem to have a pretty good success record, pretty good record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was an encouraging sign.
Yeah. Moving on, the scope of services, it looked like it was what we were wanting, that they would help us define the role and the scope of duty, so the job description, gain an understanding of the culture and leadership of the library, including the vision and mission, help us develop the job posting and ways to get it out there, screen candidates to give a pool of 5 to 10 qualified candidates for further review. They have their own network that they talk about down here, the ATS system, that is part of their active recruiting for passive candidates, I believe. Handling the communication, which we were talking about, to help us schedule interviews. They would be available to help us with those interviews and coming up with a consistent and effective process, developing our questions. They would do the reference checks and help us find a background check provider. And then the other things of helping onboard them and helping us come up with the talking points for communicating out to staff and to the public, our patrons. I thought this was really interesting down here, these extra add-ons, I guess, where we could get interview coaching, and afterwards they would coach the executive director after they're hired, if we add that on. I'm not really entirely sure what market benchmarking is. Do either of you know that? Just making sure that our price makes sense, maybe?
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that term.
Yeah. And the library staff culture assessment, where they would go through and assess our staff culture. I guess moving on to the next part, the cost proposal. They said that based on other libraries of our size, it would take about 70 to 90 hours to complete the project. And at minimum, we would pay $7,500, which would include 50 hours of that search activity. Any beyond that would be billed at the hourly rate of $150 per hour and not to exceed $15,000. So that gives us kind of a sliding scale of what to guess the cost would be. And then the cost of all the extra bits. And yeah, that's basically it. The other thing that I thought was very interesting, they gave us these references that I think we should consider reaching out before our board meeting to hear about how their searches went. And they did give the client satisfaction performance guarantee, which was something I know Larry probably remembers when that was something big that the executive director search committee was looking for after the previous search.
Correct.
And it says that if the candidate is released for cause by the library within 6 months from their start date, they would work with us for a mutually beneficial arrangement. This part I thought was really interesting as well. The encouraging diversity and equity and inclusion.
I do too.
I really like that, especially the activities that they would recommend that would help towards that, of the plan, a statement review, even checking our website to make sure that it is showing the diversity and inclusion that we're promoting. So, yeah, as well as helping us make the job posting as inclusive as possible. So, yeah, that was, I don't know what everyone is thinking.
I never heard of this anonymous resume screening.
Which was it?
It's under their plan, their diversity plan. Intentional
Okay.
act to promote a diverse candidate, the anonymous resume screening, which says that they won't put the person's name, they won't associate the person's resume information with their name until the initial selection process, the first interview stage. I'd
Yeah.
never heard of that before, so I thought that was quite unique as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. Well, I will stop sharing.
Just to that point, Deborah, I think that the reason, or I've heard of that because sometimes there's bias that can seep in depending on whether the name is associated with a certain group. And so this kind of is a way that firms or companies hiring are kind of trying to make sure there isn't kind of initial prejudice in the first part of the application process. But yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, I read all of that, and I understand it was very interesting because, I worked at IRS, which is a company that, we value diversity. And I did a lot of interviewing and a lot of hiring and a lot of recruiting, and I never came across this. So I was just pointing out that it was kind of unique.
Yeah.
I did have one comment I wanted to make, and this comes out of I can't remember which meeting it was, but it was the meeting that all of the employees showed up in their union gear, and they said that they'd like to be involved in the process of this executive director selection. So I was trying to think of ways that we could possibly make that happen. And the only thing I came up with, and maybe you all may have some other ideas, is perhaps do some sort of survey for the employees, to make them part of the process, to say, hey, what would you be looking for in a person that's going to be your library executive director? I don't know if this is something that this group could, incorporate into the activities that they plan on doing, or if it's something we could do on the side. But I just thought, they made it a point to mention that they wanted to be involved in the process, and I think that we should give that consideration.
Rob, could I jump in for a minute?
Sure, Larry.
Thank you. And that's a good point you raise. I like this idea of in terms of the add-on, the getting a sense of the library culture. That might incorporate some of that wanting to, hear from the employees, and from how how it's described, it sounds like there would be some review, some kind of a opportunity to talk to the employees and get some input, determine the environment. So that add-on I liked. I'm just putting it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that seemed like they were looking out for us and kind of already knew or probably watched some of our previous executive director search meetings or read the newspaper articles. And I think that's a fantastic add-on. I do worry about the costs adding up, which is still, this price is less than the highest that we had when this RFP went out a year ago. The highest there, I believe, was 40,000-ish, if I'm remembering from a while ago. Could be wrong, but still was, it's not that, but if it's 15,000, then plus the 2,500, then I don't know if we want to add on the interview coaching. That's another 1,500. So then if we use their job posting system, it's an extra like 500. So kind of starts to add up. And Deborah, to your point about the staff input, I think that has merit. I just worry about the balance that it would create, and I'll say I've never been able to pick my boss at any of my jobs or my principals. But I do think it is important to hear what kind of leader they want for their that would fit the library.
I think it could be done in a survey. You know, if we could put together a quick survey, or, you know, or maybe meet with a group of the employees and just let them tell, you know, whoever the powers be, whoever these people are going to be, you know, it may be a few of us, you know, what are you looking for in an executive director? Give them an opportunity to be a part of the process. You know, I think that's important in light of the sensitive situation that appears to be happening there. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know all the politics that goes on at the library, because I don't, but I just have observed some things, you know, that I think that there may be some ways that we could make the employees feel like they're part of the process. You know, because I think right now there's a big disconnect between employees and management. I hear a horrible echo, so
Yeah.
I apologize. It's not coming from me, because I was just on another conference.
Nathan, can you mute yourself real quick? I think it's coming through you. Thank you. Deborah, if you want to keep going, sorry.
Well, that was, I think I made the point, you know, and I was talking to I think it was, I don't know, it was some city or one of our city officials, and they were, you know, we in the just in passing, and we were talking about, you know, it would be a good idea, you know, this executive director, they're serving that library is serving the community. Maybe, you know, talk to some of the patrons. What do you see? What would you like to see in an executive director? You know, make people part of the process up front, and that gives you, you know, an opportunity to say, look, I included you, I included your thoughts, I value your thoughts, I think what you think is important. And, you know, we wanted to get this right. We wanted to do right by everybody. So that's my 2 cents.
Sorry, is it still having the background noise, or is it okay?
We're okay.
Yeah, okay. I just want to say I agree with Larry. I think that the cultural survey or library staff survey, you know, I think that will be an important add-on. I'm not as, like the others I think we can talk about, but I think that one would be a really good one to pursue. And to Deborah's point, I feel like there's a way, and I hear you, Rob, on not like understanding the different roles, right, in this process. But I think for the employees, what they're doing is they're providing us who are, in a sense, doing the hiring with information. And so I feel like going to them and not having them approve the boss, but going to them and saying, as people who are picking the boss, give us information. And then we can take that information and then use it to hopefully make a good decision. So I think some kind of survey, some kind of even like a word bubble thing, right? Or being able to group words by different kind of things or a sliding scale, or here are 10 things, pick the top 3 that you feel like are most important in a boss, something like that, where we get some kind of objective kind of feedback from them on kind of what they're prioritizing, but then kind of also does respect the different roles in the process.
Absolutely.
And my thought would be that we could run some of this by if we decide to choose this firm ultimately, we could run by some of these possibilities we're discussing, and maybe they could help us put some flesh on them and develop them. They could very much possibly maybe even incorporate that into the tailor-made program that they make for us. So these are all priorities of ours, and so that's something to we could ask them about and see what they say.
Yeah, I think that's good. I also, to add on to that, I do want to, it's important if we ask their opinion and get their thoughts because they are the ones working there every day. But I want us to honor that and actually do something with it. If we just ask and then we're like, okay, but if we are able to use it in a meaningful way, then I think it's important. I think if we just say, what do you want? Or what is your opinion? And then go, okay, cool. We were going to do this thing anyways, but we just wanted to ask you. I think we have to at least be mindful in the way that we do this and not make it unimportant, if that makes sense.
Towards that point, Rob, I was wondering if part of this could be then we take that feedback and then I don't know, let's say it's someone who's really good at giving feedback or really good at communication or whatever kind of emerges from the top. Then when we're doing the interview process, then we make sure that that's something that we emphasize in terms of our questions, kind of focus on. And so then that way, I think that's, again, when they're giving us input, they're giving us information, and then we're taking that to kind of help us in that process of forming those interview questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Could you
And
say that again? So,
oh,
sorry. I was
go
just
ahead.
going to ask Nathan, could you repeat that again so I could write that down for the notes?
Sure. That we would take the feedback that we get from the staff, and then that would help inform how we craft the interview questions when we get to that stage in the process.
Thank you. Sorry. Trying to think, respond, and jot down what everyone's saying is a task. Larry, I know you were about to ask something.
Yeah, I really like Deborah's idea too about somehow incorporating the public and get some of their input about what they would like to see an executive director, because ultimately that's who we're serving, the public. So I think that's a real good idea as well. Real good. I just wanted to say that, Deborah. I think it's a very good idea.
Thank you. So not that we have any other proposal to give to the board, but does this seem like something that we feel comfortable with recommending to the board to vote on this proposal, or do we, in the past, the board has redone the RFP. Some of the firms that I reached out to said that right now they were working on executive director searches for libraries in communities very close to us. So it might be a tough market right now. I don't know. Just wanted to ask what you guys think. Do you think it's worth presenting this to the board, even though it's all we have? Or
Well, if I may ask real quick, why do we think again that we only got one response back from our solicitation?
Because we did. It's the only one I
Because-
got.
Do we have any sort of a, and I don't know, do we have any sort of an obligation to reach out one more time and try to find if there's, the other part too about that is this has gone on in many ways too long already. And if we, reach out again and wait more time from, so we have to be mindful of that because the community is becoming distressed with, honestly, with, this is our task, this is our job as board members to get this done and to hire an executive director, a full-time permanent, not acting, but full, the director. And so I'm just asking, have we gone, I'm just asking, because I'm a little confused. Do we feel we've gone far enough and we've done enough already that we don't need to try to reach out again? Or do we want to reach out one more time, but of the very short time frame? I'm just putting it out there because I want to get it right, but I know that we have to move and time is of the essence here too.
I get that. It is a little frustrating that we don't have lots of options. But I don't want to keep kicking the can, which happens for so many things, it feels like, where we're like, well, we'll wait another month and then we'll see what else we can get. And then we'll wait the next month. And Gerardo, at one of his the times that I've met with him, he told me, fail fast and fail cheap. And I don't know if that's the best phrase, but at least I feel like we got to make a choice, and either we go with them or we wait and do another RFP, which could get even less. And who's going to respond to these proposals if we just ignore them and just keep asking the same people again? Yeah, it's tricky.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
I think that's a good question, Larry. I think from my perspective, if we came back and it was the only bid we had was from, I don't know, Joe Schmo's pretty good HR firm that started 6 months ago, or something, then it would be like, okay, maybe we need to go get more bids. Or if someone came in like astronomically high, let's say. But I feel, for me, I feel comfortable moving forward with this firm because I feel like it's a good bid. It's a solid bid. I think it's what we were looking for. And I think adding on the cultural piece, I think would be, would be super helpful given where the library is. So for those reasons, I feel like it's moving forward again, because I don't feel like we're moving forward with something that's kind of second rate. I think we got a good solid bid here. And I don't want to sort through a whole bunch of resumes myself, or take that on as a committee. And I feel like moving forward would be good for the library and the community.
I think that was well stated, Nathan. I think that was well stated. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we feel comfortable with bringing this forward to the board. We seem to, I don't want to speak for you, Deborah, because I haven't heard you exactly say this, but that we feel comfortable adding on the cultural study for the staff.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
So add that. And do you need me to pull it back up so we can talk about the other ones again?
I got mine here. I don't know about everybody else. But
I can pull it up because I know Larry probably doesn't.
No, I don't have, but that, I would like, if possible, real quick, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm scrolling through. to,
We're just looking at the add-ons now, right?
yeah,
It's page 6.
okay. So right now we have at minimum, it would be 10,000 to 17,500 that we are proposing that the board approves. How do you feel about the applicant tracking system, which seems like it creates a hiring website for us? I know they did that in the past. That's with the previous firm that we used. It did not seem like a huge cost. It would be $150 to set up and then $20 per month, which if we are hoping to have this done by summer would probably be 3 months, 2 months, hopefully. So that'd be looking at 190-ish at right this moment. And I don't know how many hours it would take managing for them to manage that.
Yeah, because that's what, $45 an hour for them.
To me, it seems really useful.
Yeah, but the only thing I would think is that maybe you, I don't know, with it being $45 an hour, we could ask, how many hours does it typically take? Is it for them to man this, We don't want this to just add up either. You know what I'm saying? Right. So if we could get some idea, tell them that, we're trying to budget the amount of money that we spend. So we would ask them, what does a library our size typically, require for monitoring for what we're trying to do. So, it's a difference if you're paying 2 hours at $45 or you're paying 200 hours at $45. So that would be my only concern with that system is, trying to get some kind of estimate going in. What is, how many hours do they think they're going to need?
I agree with Deborah. I think having some kind of, makes me nervous just to kind of have those hours out there without some kind of range of what we're looking at.
Right, and especially because where it says up here about the out-of-pocket cost wouldn't exceed $15,000.
Yeah.
But it says that a rate doesn't cover project-related expenses. And does that count as this? Would the hours from that factor into that would never go over that number? I guess that's a good question. And I also wrote down that we'd have to ask, what is market benchmarking?
If we don't know what it is, we don't need it.
Maybe we do need it. It's so useful, we don't know we need it.
It's one of those, I think I know what that means, but
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it means that they check what a library of our size and the cost of living and all that would cost and help us come up with the pay. Then the other thing is this executive coaching for new executive director. Do you think it would be useful to include that as a benefit for the executive director, as a part of the onboarding process for them? Is that just extra we might not need?
Well, what does it consist of? it says, coaching, the first hour is $450, and then subsequent 1 hour sessions, and you don't know how many they're gonna recommend, is $350. What does it, I mean, I can't really answer that without knowing what it consists of. You
Right.
know, are they giving them, meat and potatoes, or are they giving them fluff? Oh, we're gonna be a good executive director today. What does it consist of? We can't make a decision if we don't know what it is. So
Okay.
I would say that needs further investigation.
Okay, so what it sounds like is that we want to get more information of what these additional options include.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
as
good,
far-
yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And as far as executive coaching, I would think that if someone feels like executive coaching would be helpful, I feel like that would be something that might be included in like some kind of professional development kind of thing, and like an ongoing rather than like a one-off kind of 1 hour thing. I don't know. I just, yeah, I tend to view it as being maybe not something that's crucial or essential, but
I would agree with that too, what Nathan said. Yeah.
That makes sense. And I did also notice that the library staff culture assessment, the cost is $2,500. That gives us just the report and the comments. If we want them to analyze the data, that would be billable at $185 an hour, which that could be very important. What uses, just like I was talking about before, if we ask staff for their feedback and they say, we like this, and we don't do anything with it, what use is that going to be? Same with all this data. If we get information with a report and comments, but then don't know, have an analysis of what to do next, which maybe that doesn't include it. I don't know.
Well, my thought on that would be, Rob, that that's a pretty big chunk of dough, in my opinion, to get that that cultural piece of it. But then the smaller amount you just mentioned, if it would seem to me that they wouldn't take a lot of time for them to assess it professionally and kind of break it down and make it, in bite sizes so we could better, chew on it and digest it, versus having all these answers and all this and sitting there thinking, well, this says this reply is this, and this one says that, and this one's over here, and this one's up here, and for them to kind of crystallize it and summarize it from a professional viewpoint. So I think that piece to finalize it would be helpful. Yeah. For that part of it, I think that would be helpful.
yeah. And I would also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Sure. I was just going to comment that it seems like that portion could maybe be more beneficial once an executive director is hired, like obviously not from their firm, but it would be more beneficial for the executive director to get assessment of the staff. I feel like doing a assessment of the staff now, it might not be as beneficial if it doesn't affect how the search committee, does its course of action, I guess. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I guess we have questions that we should ask about this, because is it before for us to use in the hiring process, or is it after to be given to the new executive director for them to better understand the library they're working at? I guess it just depends on what the actual purpose is of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. In my mind, I think, and thank you, Rebecca, that's helpful to think through. I think it would probably be both, right? Because it would help us, but then also I'm thinking, putting myself in the position of the executive director coming in, I think it would be helpful to have that information to know, okay, these are strengths and weaknesses. These are things that keep coming up that we'll need to address. So I think it would be helpful for them kind of coming in. I don't know. What do you think, Rebecca? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that makes sense. It'd be helpful for them coming in knowing, and they might, I mean, an executive director might have their own way or style of getting information from their staff. I know, as you know, parallel to the school district, I know when there was a new superintendent hired in the school district, there probably were some surveys sent out. I believe I remember that. But what I specifically remember is even before the new superintendent was hired, she came to all the schools and they called it like a listening tour. And so I think each executive director is going to have their own style of getting to know the staff, getting to understand their concerns. And it might not be like survey data. It might be more sitting down and talking to people. And that could be just a lot more beneficial to them.
Thank you. Do you think we would need the interview coaching training for the board? Is that useful, you think?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think everybody probably doesn't have hiring experience on our board. So the interviewing coaching could be helpful.
I agree. I would be very interested in what this would include. That would help us in the process. So yeah, I definitely, all these additional options that they gave, I feel like they just got to ask for more details for us.
I did have a one question, Rob, when it comes to like budget for this. Do we have like as I'm aware of, there's no like super strict budget that we're keeping to, but I think it would be good to have some kind of idea of what we're looking at in terms of, or what we're willing to spend. Or is that just more of an open-ended kind of question? Because it just seems like this is one of those things where it could kind of pile up a little bit in terms of costs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been writing down the range as we talk about the different things, and before even adding this culture thing, the culture training, sorry, coaching, it would be 10,500 to 18,000. So then that would make it 12,000 to 1950 or 19.5, and then we don't. That's with me adding the additional cost that they have right here. If we add on LinkedIn as a source for applications, that would be $50 a month, so maybe an extra $150. So we're looking at about the lowest end of $15,000 to 20-something thousand. And how much do we want to spend? I think that's a good question.
I mean, I'd love to hear what the others think. For me, I guess I was thinking, like, just in terms of looking at the previous bids, it seemed like 20,000 was like a good kind of limit, which is why I think when looking at this, it was like, okay, that's reasonable. But it just, again, I just want to make sure we're kind of being fiscally responsible, I guess, as we look at, especially some of these add-ons. What do you think, Deborah?
Well, as far as the interview coaching training, I don't personally need that. others may, because I had a lot of experience in recruiting and hiring and interviewing. So, and this library staff cultural assessment, based on what I just looked up on my phone, it doesn't mean anything near what we're thinking it means. So we have to go back to them and ask them to give us more, information on what it actually consists of, because I don't think we have the right definition of what it actually is. So yeah, the add-ons, the executive, the coaching for the new executive, I think that can be eliminated. I think the proposal is a good, reasonable proposal. I'm just questioning some of the add-ons. So if you were to ask me, would I want to go forward with this proposal to the board, the rest of the board, I would say yes, without the add-ons, until they have been thoroughly defined as to what they consist of. And then we make the determination, are they worth paying that type of money?
That makes sense. So it sounds like after this meeting, I should email and ask for clarification and examples of what the additional options include.
Rob, I'm
Okay.
wondering if perhaps at our next meeting, our upcoming meeting of our full library board, at our regular monthly meeting, I'm wondering if we could have possibly someone from this firm on the phone, on the Zoom call, to go through what these add-ons would mean for all of us to hear. There aren't that many of them that it would seem to take that long to go through. Just a thought. Because yeah, I would like to know more about all that too, all these too, before we say yay or nay. I think that's prudent to do.
Yeah, I like Deborah's idea. And Larry, I think that's a really good way forward. Rob, do you think it would be possible for us then, as like the search committee, to basically kind of out of this committee make a recommendation that we go with this firm, and then that we're seeking the additional information and additional input from the rest of the trustees on the add-on specifically? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I will reach out to Carl and ask how that would need to be phrased for the motion. So ask Carl about motion, approve as is, and more info on additional. I would love to be able to invite them to come in. Our next meeting, I don't think we want to be 3 hours long again, but already we know that we have, hopefully, to finish the Ray Bradbury. We have the yearly budget. We have the information about our council, and we have this, which then if we have somebody in and questions that they would answer, that could end up, I could see that 10 o'clock again with all those things added on. I don't want to push this back to another month, as well as all the other things I don't want to push back another month. So I don't know how best to do this without it being forever.
We have a lot on our plate. Put it that way.
We do. Yeah, I think Nathan and I will ask Carl how we specifically phrase that, but I think the committee is in agreement that we want to recommend HR Source to the Board of Trustees to run the search for executive director, and with the costs that are listed up there, with more information to be decided on the additional options. And maybe we say yes to this, but then ask them to come in March and answer some of those questions about the other things. I don't know.
Well, that's a good thought. I hadn't quite viewed it that way, but that would make sense. At least from my mind.
Yeah,
It sounds reasonable.
Okay. So we would have the main cost proposal voting this month. Additional, I guess we do have to double check, like if we can add them on after or not, because if we come up with this idea and then they say, no, you have to decide them all right now, that would be, yeah, okay. Cool. So it sounds like we have a good idea. I will reach out to HR Source to ask for more information on the additional options that we can then send out to each other, that I can then forward out to you all. This will be included in this month's board packet for everyone else to read. And is there anything else I'm forgetting? Talking to Carl about how to phrase the motion and inviting them to our March meeting. I don't know if we can officially invite them until after we approve it, but yeah, who knows, maybe they're listening now. Okay, anything else? No?
Just if you need any help with that, Rob, just let me know if you need any help with any of that stuff. 'Cause that sounds like a lot on your plate in the next week or two.
Yeah, thank you. I will probably take you or Deborah up on that. I know Deborah didn't offer, but I'm saying she offered.
you know, I'm here to help whatever I can do.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So I think now we just need, let me stop sharing. Just need a motion to end the meeting. Well, I guess we do have time for trustee comments if anyone wants to make one.
Not a comment, but just a question. Rob, do we need to make a motion to move this to the trustee board, or is that not required?
Probably yes. Let's do it just to be safe.
Okay, so make a motion that we recommend I'm sorry, what's the name? HR
Source.
Source to help with the search process to go before the trustee board at the next meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay. So we'll vote on it. Deborah?
Aye.
Nathan? I saw your mouth. Larry? Give everybody a vote.
Aye, yes, take it to the meeting. Yes, aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Okay, myself, aye. So it passes that the motion to recommend HR Source to the full board to run our executive director search. Cool. Awesome.
Cool. Hey, we're unanimous on something.
What's up?
I said we're unanimous on something.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, now we just need a motion to end it as well.
I motion that we end the meeting.
Okay. And do we have a second?
I second that.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so we have the motion. That was, sorry, I forgot to write this down, and I know I need to. So Nathan, and then second was Deborah, and then this one was Deborah, and this Rebecca. Okay. Carl told us that since it is online, we have to do each of us saying aye. I can't do roll call, I believe. I thought that's what he said last meeting. So I'm just going to do it just in case. So, Deborah?
What am I?
Sorry, a motion to conclude,
And-
end the meeting.
Aye.
Okay.
I
Nathan.
missed it.
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. And see you guys in a couple more days for